Are you the generation who can save the world one like at a time? So, let's talk about Malcolm Gladwell. The first thing I think you're really going to love, he's got great hair. Didn't I tell you? How can you not trust a guy with an afro like that? Anyway, the first objection I seem to get from students when we discuss this is them saying, "But Dr. DuBose, our Lord and Master, we're not even on Facebook. We hate Facebook." Well, I don't know how much I trust that statement. I'm not saying you like Facebook. You might very well hate it. God knows I do. But what about actual Facebook use? As of spring 2018, Facebook, which would be in the red, has been declining quite steadily for a long time, and Snapchat is probably the biggest gainer. Instagram is, I'm shocked it's that high up. I mean, I really loved it a whole lot more before they made the timeline go depending on an algorithm. I want my stuff in the... you don't care. But the thing I want you to pay attention to, this is the preferred social network of U.S. teenagers. It's not necessarily dependent on how much they actually use it. As far as April 2018, let's look at the numbers. YouTube, 32%, Instagram, 15%, Snapchat, 35%. Facebook is down to 10%. But this is most frequently used. When you look at actual Facebook user age breakdown, youths between the ages of 18 and 24 still make up the second largest group of Facebook users. Now, I'm sure you're all probably not active users. You're not on there all the time, but you've got to be on Facebook a certain amount of time because that's where your parents are and that's where your family is. At least that's that case with me. I have the added benefit of being a musician, so I kind of have to rely on Facebook to spread the word because fans are there, which is sad because I hate Facebook. But anyway, one of the things Gladwell was talking about is the way things get organized and how that has to do with the level of ties. A traditional organization, if you keep in mind, is hierarchical in that you have definitive structure of authority and you have leaders and you have direct lines of communication. Whereas a network, which is more akin to what happens in social media, they are actually social media networks, is less centralized and is designed so there isn't just one path to go through the system. If you remember, Gladwell said hierarchy is good for getting stuff done. Network is good for getting lots of people to learn a lot about it. So, which one's the most important, and how have these things historically worked out for us? Well, let's look at two examples. The People's Revolution in the Philippines. There's an article about it in today's folder, well, actually in the last folder, that goes into a little bit more in depth about it, but massive demonstrations ousted the dictator of the Philippines, and those demonstrations were supposedly organized entirely by messaging. Yeah, back in the pre-internet days, they still had text messaging, and it turns out to be a way you can get a hold of a lot of people. Another big social media influenced revolution was the Arab Spring, which was, again, largely organized by people messaging. Now, here's the thing. Do any of these lead to permanent change? Well, in the case of the Philippines, are they a free and open democracy right now? Duarte would probably say they are, but Duarte doesn't have a great touch on reality. They are, after all, the people who have threatened to assassinate anyone with drugs at all. And as far as the Arab Spring, well, it did lead to the ouster of the Egyptian ruling party, and the people ended up voting in a much more conservative party after a little while. So it didn't really gain them permanent levels of change. Now, here's the interesting thing. Some academics did a study where they went to the Egypt Arab Spring demonstrations, and they went and they found the relatively leftist crowd and asked them to do a simple Google search for Arab Spring. And it immediately would lead to almost all sites supporting the pro-democracy left-wing causes. Then they found some counter-protesters. The down with these weird protesters, let's stick up with authority people, and asked them to do the exact same Google search. And they got sites which were almost entirely, these protesters are horrible, they're going to screw up the place. The thing is, with social media, we tend to get locked into echo chambers. When you get into political discussions, well, one of the things social media does, and has done for a long time, is try to predict what you're going to want to see by algorithm, and then give you more of what the algorithm says you're going to want to see. It's why if you ever want to be haunted by something for the rest of your life, you just go in and do a search for it on your phone. I one time looked up an article on Smashing Pumpkins, the band, and it took me 3 years before those things stopped showing up in my feed all the time. Politically, it means that if you're a right-winger, you're going to be exposed to more right-wing stuff. If you're a left-winger, you're going to be exposed to more left-winger stuff. Whatever your political persuasion, you're going to be more likely exposed to stuff that supports the thoughts you already have. And does anything really change when everyone only gets their own thoughts reinforced? Not really. So the question comes then, what do we currently use social media for? Well, I went to the wonderful world of online petitions and found some great causes to which people are lending their name. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying tons of people wanted to support this cause, but almost 3,000 people did take time out of their day to sign up for this. This one didn't garner much support at all. Change.org had give customers a minimum of 2 hot sauce packets per taco, burrito, or other entree ordered. Now, I don't know when in the campaign this screenshot came from, but this is, so I don't know if there was any success or not, and I refuse to eat at Taco Bell because I prefer to keep food that I can safely digest. But this is the kind of cause people really want to support. It doesn't really get a lot better when you look on. Don't let grown-ups play Minecraft. Huh? We really love using our online presence for good social causes, huh? This, though, is one of my favorites. The Obama administration were the originators of the We the People petition website, which, simply put, was if you got X number of responses to your petition, the White House, in an effort of honesty and openness, pledged that they were actually going to respond to your petition. So if you had popular support, they'd talk to you, which is good, but we have already seen the uses to which people use technology, social networking power. But really, a petition to begin construction of a Death Star? To give full credit, the White House took it in a nice level of spirit and gave an official response. The administration shares your desire for job creation and a strong national defense, but a Death Star isn't on the horizon. Here are a few reasons. The construction of a Death Star has been estimated to cost more than $850 quadrillion. Working on reducing the deficit, not expanding it. The administration does not support blowing up planets. Ah, those were better days, huh? Why would we spend countless taxpayer dollars on a Death Star with a fundamental flaw that can be exploited by a one-man starship? I don't know if the current White House occupant is still using the petition system. I haven't heard anything about it for a while, so it's something I'll probably have to look into. But it's not like we were using it for a lot of good anyway. So, does social media really help us affect some level of change, or does it lead to people who just, I'm supporting this cause. How did I do that? I clicked on it. Something to think about, huh? If you believe Malcolm Gladwell, the internet isn't really that good for social movements. But, there are many ways to look at it. One way, I think, is that if the thing that the internet succeeds the most on is the weak ties and disseminating information via weak ties, it kind of works as a nice hand-in-hand with the strong ties that push us towards actual action. Not saying you can't have action without the internet, because certainly we always have. But with the internet, ooh boy. It's a thought. See you next video.